How's everybody doing today? My name is Alex Louie. I'm posting a video on a style guide. I expect everybody to follow this style guide for cleaner and more readable C++ code. So the first thing I want to go over is how you actually format your program in C++. So the first thing is when you notice initially when you open up a default project is you'll have a main function, and you'll also have a open bracket, close bracket. So if you notice here, you have an indentation here. So when you start your code, you should actually always indent twice. So usually what I do is I do a double tab, so 1, 2, right? So now you're lined up with these lines. So if I was going to declare a variable, I would say int my variable is equal to, sorry, spell this wrong, is equal to 50, and then enter, and then anything that you declare afterwards should be lined up underneath this. So again, 2 tabs from the end to the left here, so 1, 2, or 1 tab actually, 1, 2, right? There you go, 1, 2. So now this is all lined up with your code with system pause and return exit. Okay, so that's the first thing I want you guys to realize is always indent the first few lines of your variable declarations. Next thing is when we start getting into cout and cin, then again cout, then space, less than space, and then we'd have, you know, hello world, and close that out. Okay, now if you need to do a cout on 2 lines, then it's perfectly okay for you to do the following. I can do that and then do this, but you see how these two are perfectly lined up underneath each other, and this will compile. So if I go into compile and run, you should have a result. There you go, hello world. Okay, so again, if you're gonna do a cout, make sure you line that up. Now if you're doing any if statements, again, if open, make a space in between if and your open parentheses, and you'll have expression. Okay, and then if you're gonna do a body of an if statement, then you want to do a open bracket here and then a close bracket here, so that the if statement is perfectly lined up again with the open bracket and the close bracket. Now if you're going to write the body from inside the body, then you do a tab in here, okay, so that it lines up with your left parentheses. Okay, it all depends on how you're writing your environment in terms of what environment you're using, but I'd like it to line up perfectly with the leftmost parentheses, so that I can do something like cout hello world again. Okay, so now you have an indentation, and this is perfectly lined up. Same thing with a while loop. So if I do a while, do that, then expression, right? I'll have an open bracket, and you have a closed bracket here, again perfectly lined up, right? These are perfectly lined up here, and then once you get over here, then you can indent all the way to the left parentheses of your while loop. So see how if I start here, then I can say cout hello world. So the key here is to always perfectly line up everything to the leftmost indentation that you start out with. So again, from the leftmost bracket, you're indenting here, do 2 tabs, and then once you get your indentation straight over here, then if you're gonna do an if statement, make sure that any lines in the body are perfectly lined up with your leftmost parentheses. Same thing with this. This is lined up with my leftmost parentheses, and then my open bracket and my closed bracket are right underneath each other, right? They're perfectly lined up with the first letter of my if. Same thing with the while, first letter of my while. Now let's go over the for loop. Okay, so if I do a for int I equals 0, I is less than 10, I plus plus. Okay, again, I'm gonna line this up perfectly here. Open bracket, close bracket. See how these are perfectly lined up. Okay, straight down. And again, you're going to go into line up with the leftmost parentheses. So we're going to stay here and do the following. Cout hello world. And again, this is lined up perfectly with the leftmost parentheses of your for loop. Okay, so it's pretty simple. The main point I'm trying to preach here is that you should always code neatly so that it's very readable and things aren't all over the place. Once you start using this style guide, you'll notice that as you go through and read your own code, it's going to be easier for you to pick apart any bugs or issues that you may be having or any compiler errors. Okay, so everything should be lined up perfectly as I described in this video. This way, if I take a look at your code, it is up to standards. Okay. Any questions, you could always email me at parttimeadjunct@gmail.com. Let me know any questions or feedback that you have. Thanks again. I hope to see you in the next video.